Hello, everybody. Adam Parks here with another episode of Receivables Roundtable. Today, I'm here with my good friend Susan Richards, who is the CEO of CredTech Consulting. How you doing today, Susan?
I'm good. How are you, Adam?
Oh, it's another day in paradise. I appreciate you joining me today. The topic I wanted to cover today was talking a little bit about creative problem solving as a consultant, because it's a skill set I think that is truly unique and something that has to be cultivated over time and experience. And then when you get to meet people that are actually deploying that kind of knowledge through a framework, it's really incredible to see what a consultant can accomplish.
Got it. Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
So, for anybody who's not as lucky as me to get to know you through the years, can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and how you got to the seat that you're in today?
Yeah, sure. I've been in this industry for 36 years at this point. I keep saying, keeps counting the years, Adam, and I keep thinking, well, I started when I was 5. But anyway, I started as a collector. I definitely didn't come into this industry like most who this was my career. I just happened to fall into it, and it took off from there. I started with Allied Bond and Collection, very old name, but a lot of the people that are still around have come from there, and that was in Pennsylvania. Then I went to NCB. I left there as their CEO. Got down here to South Florida, and from here have been doing many startup organizations in the debt buying and collection industry. And at late, I decided a year ago and to take my expertise and just go out on my own as a consultant. And more or less, I wanted to be totally different and come in as a contractor, like a contractor when it comes to if you need business development, or a contractor if you're looking for operations. So I'm not a typical consultant. I'm not a broker. It's a totally different way I've come into this industry. So, yeah.
Fair enough. I think you bring up some good points when it comes to consultants. I feel like consultant is a word that has become synonymous with unemployed through the years, and that's not the case. There's those of us that have actually built very successful consulting practices by not just going in and charging for our time, but going in and charging based on individual results and going into an organization with a new and different mind frame that allows them to kind of take a consulting framework and get some deployable action items. But as we talk about kind of CredTech, tell us a little bit about what it is, the types of projects that you've taken on over there.
Yeah, sure. Well, started it with an agency that was only in the medical world, and they needed to get out of medical because of the ever-changing environment. They didn't have the skill to bring in the banking, credit unions, consumer loan, auto loans. So I came in as a project, and not only did I bring the clients, but I helped train staff. I helped train management, because in order to be successful, medicals, I don't have a lot of experience with medical, very little. So I couldn't help with that even if I wanted to. So I wanted to spend more time on getting these agents up and running, getting the management team up and running so they could be very successful. So they were competitive. And when they were looking at a scorecard model, they were up, the top 3, 4 is what my job was. And it was very successful. That was the beginnings. Now I've taken on many other projects, but my projects are very strategic. Like, for example, credit unions coming in and looking at their whole operation from soup to nuts and getting them up and running. As you know, I work with Epicenter in again, operations coming in as a consultant to build out their business development, getting more and more clients for them here stateside. So multiple projects, but definitely a project oriented consultant.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, I think when you're dealing with consulting, there's always an element of project management associated with it. What I find to be interesting is the framework that you put around a consulting project, because like you talk about, it's not just about going in, looking at them, coming up with a plan, and being like, here's your plan, right? Like somebody has to get trained. Somebody has to learn how these things happen. You can't just take what's in your mind and be like, here's here's your solution. That's not how the world works, right? Like you have to engage with that group. You have to engage with the individuals that are on the line level, whether that be through, one-on-one training, advanced training, right? There's so many different methods and mechanisms that we can use, or levers that we can pull in order to get the things done that we need to get done. But it's not always easy, right? And I think that's the difference between, I'm going to call it professional consultants and others, is because the professional consultants understand what it actually takes to deploy these things. They didn't work one role for their entire career, right? Like you've had a number of different experiences across a number of different organizations through the space, and it gives you a different level of visibility, right, into how these things actually happen. And then you're able to take some of those experiences and leverage them in the deployment of your new plan. So talk to me a little bit about kind of the creative side of things, right? Like, because you're not a standard like, hey, I'm just going to come in here, kind of consultant. You're going in, you're developing a kind of a project scope and plan around it. But talk to me a little bit about some of the creative problems that you've had to resolve, as a consultant.
Well, I think it comes into like some things, you're not used to. I mean, I didn't work
Hmm.
for a credit union. I didn't know that, and this is all, everybody's different how you move up in your industry. In a
Hmm.
credit union, I could be a originator who may get promoted to collection manager, and I've never done collection management ever. So
Hmm.
that was unique in itself. That so just because you're sitting in that seat doesn't mean you have any idea. You've never collected an account. You don't know how to collect an account. It's uncomfortable too because in a credit union, it's a member. It's not like
Hmm.
in an agency as a debt buyer. You know, when I was involved in that with NCB as their COO, I mean, those collectors, I mean, we had some talented people that have been doing it for 10 years or more.
Hmm.
That's a whole different project in itself, managing a team of,
Seasoned
how do I,
collectors. Yeah.
well, that's all I'm going to say because it's just, everybody wants to be that six-figure collector and they want to
Hmm.
know why is that guy getting those accounts. So creativity is taking your skills and, first off, they have to trust who you are. No
Hmm.
matter who you are, it doesn't matter. They have to trust that the person that's sitting down with you knows what they're talking about, but not just knows it, but is personable. I
Hmm.
never acted, even when I was in the C suite, I never looked at myself as here I am, here you are. I'm so in the weeds, and people
Hmm.
would come and talk to me. Keeping that lines of communication open and sharing. I like collaboration. I don't like being the, yes, I can come in as the expert, but I want to teach you and help you become the expert. I want to
Hmm.
leave there knowing that my results are your ROI went up, and and you looked at it as like, wow, look at the amount of revenue that has come in from this learning process. So I'm a little bit more about, I don't care whether you're in the collection seat or whether you're in the management seat. I want to sit down with every single person and I want to know who you are because that'll
Hmm.
help me help them. That's about, getting to know the people personally is a different, it's good leadership skills. That's things I've learned over years and years of being in leadership, knowing who your audience is, knowing who you're in front of, and building out some really, because people will go to war with people that they trust.
Hmm.
Um, Leadership wise, I don't know.
Sure.
I was lucky enough to have people that I could depend on and they really love what they did too. And that's another
Hmm.
thing, giving people autonomy to have them love what they do, right? Like they want they if you're doing something you hate, it's obvious and it's
Hmm.
very clear and we can fix that quickly if they're not interested in doing the job. That happens often as well. Seriously,
Well,
you know how many times
it feels
we've
like
got,
consulting is empowerment, right?
yeah,
Like the whole objective as a consultant is to empower the people around you. So how are you going to take on empowering those people that are around you? And would that be through the education? Best way to do it is to start by getting to know them. Who are
yeah,
they and how can I empower you? What is it
yeah.
that you need?
And also talk about yourself a little bit. Like I'm very personable about who I am. I'm a mom. I have
Hmm.
kids. I had a special needs son. When you sit down and talk to people day to day, when they walk in that office, now look, I don't say that we need to be a super therapist and every time a person's, it can be overwhelming. Believe it or not, I had open
Sure.
door policy and I did have people come talk to me about anything and everything. And I'll tell you why. If you were in a really bad mood and you got into a fight with your spouse, or your kids are doing things they're not supposed to do, or something's going on personally, and you get on the collection call with that,
Hmm.
that is going to be
Recipe for
yes,
disaster.
yeah. So we would have a lot of conversations about that, and people would have to become their own, be self-aware of what's going on
Hmm.
with themselves, but also know that you can trust and talk to your leadership team. So I think it's an evaluation upon all parts, right? Not just the collector, but the management team, because sometimes managers aren't unapproachable. How many middle management people feel intimidated by just their bosses, or they don't tell them like they see problems and won't talk about it. I can't tell you how many times that happens where they
Hmm.
see, like, out on the horizon, a bomb going to go off, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm afraid to tell them that," or "I'm afraid to tell them I made a mistake." There's a lot of things with that.
That's a big one that I've heard a lot through the years, is that I'm too afraid to admit a mistake, right? And
Yeah,
what does that create in terms of your internal environment at your organization? If everybody's too afraid to make a mistake, hell, I encourage it. And
yeah,
in terms of trying to maintain, let's say, visibility across the organization, I do open hours every morning for an hour between 8:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. You know that I'm on a open hour meeting and I sit in that meeting. And because we've got a global team, I can't just sit here with my door open. I'm in the middle of nowhere right now. That's not helping. But what I do is I sit on the meeting and then people join. Inevitably, every day, at least a couple of people join to talk to me about either something that they've got going on personally, something that they've got going on at the office, advice that they need, career advice, right? Organizational, interpersonal skills that they need to be, developing. And spending all that time on that personal development, almost like consulting for my own organization after I had done some house cleaning in the C suite back in December. And so now that I've come back in and kind of taken over those roles, instituted those tool sets, I'm seeing a lot of the value that I've brought to other organizations through the years from a consultant capacity, taking that same framework, trying to apply it to my own organization, and seeing the results, quite frankly, right? Because using some
yeah,
of these consulting frameworks that we've developed through the years and how we've gone through these projects, the hardest thing is looking at your own organization, right?
yeah.
Is taking a look back at yourself and being like, okay, so I'm really smart and I could share all of this information with other people. How am I going to deploy it right here for my own organization? Because one day you turn around and you've grown by so much that you don't know everybody's name anymore. And you have to kind of go back and make sure that you never lose that touch.
Well, and also, I learned a lot from you, Adam, believe it or not. But when I decided to start this, one thing you said to me, and it rained off in my mind, was don't be like every other consultant in the sense of, like you said, people that are just unemployed looking for, uh, I, I don't know what they're looking for.
Looking for work, yeah.
I wanted something different. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to bring value. I knew that operationally, like you talked about, the people, the process, it's a combination, it's a formula, it's a recipe, whatever you want to call it. And I've had plenty of success. I felt like, let me bring, and that's not from an egotistical sense. With the team, I had success. It wasn't Susan
Mm-hmm.
Richards on her own. There was no way I would do it on my own. It was with a group of
Sure.
people that trusted me as their leader, which I always used to say during meetings, thank you for, I'm honored that you allow me to be in this position, because guess what? you don't have any followers if they don't trust you and they don't.
Yeah.
So they allowed me. See, there was a
Yeah.
humbling part there. Sometimes people don't understand the whole leadership role. It's I'm up here and I'll tell you what to do. Well, that's not going to get people to move. People are going to
Hmm.
get resentment, anger, and they're looking for a new job or they're
Hmm.
just sitting around collecting their paycheck. I wanted people to come to the table with their thoughts, their ideas, and that goes for consulting too. When you go into an
Hmm.
organization, I want those people to come talk about maybe what they didn't feel they could talk about, or I want them to talk in front of their management team and share ideas. It's
Hmm.
imperative that collaboration comes together. You drive so much better when you drive together. You know, you
Hmm.
drive a team together, man, you'll get so much further than if you have a bunch of people doing all kinds of haphazard work.
It's organizational communication, right? The ability to communicate across the masses, which is not an easy statement, right? Like it sounds easy. Look, oh, just talk to a bunch of people instead of one on one. But everything changes when you start talking in bulk, right? I mean,
Yeah.
even as a good salesman, I did my master's degree in marketing because I wanted to better understand those broader discussions. How can I communicate to the masses and how can I get the masses to communicate with themselves? So how can I don't know. It sounds wrong when you say like, how can I implant this story and have that be, cycled through? But when you're talking about your vision and your mission, that's literally what you're trying to do, right? You're being a storyteller as a leader, as a CEO, or even as a consultant coming in and helping someone to develop that skill set. But you can't just be me saying it to every person in the organization. One, there's not enough time for that, and two, it doesn't have the same effect as getting or communicating a message that snowballs itself throughout an organization. And sometimes, and it's been my experience on consulting projects, I don't know if you see it any differently, but that's one of the biggest challenges to completing anything during a consulting engagement is the cross departmental communications, right? It's
Yeah.
about how is this organization communicating, what does that communications model look like? Because if it's not clean, clear, and concise, you're never going to get to where you're trying to go. You're constantly going to find yourself of being in the same space and grinding water. So for me, like that organizational communication and formalizing that structure in different ways. It's amazing when you talk to an organization about the hierarchy, right? They all give you the same chart, right? We all get the same org chart. But then when you ask them, how does communication flow up and down this organizational chart?
Yeah.
To
It
be
gets
perfectly frank, you shouldn't be able to tell where the lines are,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
There should be so many lines in so many different directions, it should be incapable of explaining it to me. It should be that complex because you want to engage all of these people in these discussions. But how
So
many of us are taking the time when we're running our day-to-day business to actually put those pieces and parts in place?
you said a couple things and you make me think back to individual me, continuing
Mhm.
education, right? Because you said you want to.
100%.
I think for me, it's constantly continuing education, regardless of, especially being a consultant now. I have to
Mhm.
learn things that I necessarily would have never learned. I'm talking about I'm on webinars learning. Like yesterday, I'm learning
You
more
go to
about
every single booth at every single show to
yeah,
make sure that you know what it is that everybody does around you.
yeah, but it's just knowledge base, and then not just that, but then sometimes you can talk it off, sometimes you can't. But you've
Mhm.
also brought me back to like, okay, every organization is different. When I was with NCB, with the BPO world, I went into Jamaica and build out
Mhm.
their Jamaica site, and I did it. I said, no, no, no. Well, selfishly enough, it was in Jamaica, so of course, oh no,
Yeah.
I'll take on.
Yeah,
I'll
I'll
go do
take
the
that. I'll take that hit for the team.
training.
Sure.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what I learned. Well, I learned so much, but the biggest
Mhm.
things I learned was culture. I
Mhm.
learned I should be grateful for what I have. That was a big one because of the facts that everybody doesn't drive a car to work. They may be
Mhm.
busting. They may be living with multiple people in their family.
Mhm.
They they may never have purchased a car. Look, I went in and tried to train collectors. They learned fintech well. They learned a lot of banking well. They learned, you know, anything outside of auto. They
Mhm.
learned. it came into auto, and I tried to train collectors, and I'm in the weeds, man, learning this with that. Trying to,
That's the
I didn't
problem.
realize,
Is it's so complex.
yeah, and I never knew how hard it was to buy a car until you see it through somebody else's eyes, and then you say one word, uh, with lemon law. Now everybody is on the phone saying, "Is your car a lemon?" Whoa, no, don't say that. Every car is not a lemon. So, but do you see what I mean? Like all like
Yeah, it's the
interpretation.
cultural changes.
Yeah. So you had
Yeah.
to take them through the documents, and you couldn't just do it once. You had to do it over and over. But the learning curve for me, this is again for where you take that information and you go, okay. And by the way, it would be different in India. It would be different in if I was going
Hmm.
to the Philippines. It would be different if I was going into Mexico.
Hmm.
Everybody has cultural differences, which brings even more. And to be honest with you, right now, Adam, everybody seems to be like offshore, because call centers here, not many people want to work in a call center anymore, So,
They're more expensive to run here. I feel like the quality has slid when trying
yeah,
to keep call centers exclusively within the United States. It's just more and more difficult than it used to be. But you can't just transplant your U.S. culture and drop it in another country and have it expect to work, because
right.
there's very little understanding of the US marketplace unless you're dealing with employees that have worked in the US before. And so we do a training course every time I go to India where I sit
Yeah,
down with my team and I go through Collections 101. What is a
yeah,
debt? Why does it exist? Why do we exist as a marketing and media firm within the debt collection space? That sounds weird in and of itself. So
yeah.
going through and explaining those things, you see a lot of aha moments where people start to understand or realize why you make decisions the way that you make them, or why you do certain things the way that you do them within your organization that just seems strange to them from the outside. They read a policy, they're like, this doesn't seem to make sense. But when they understand the US culture as compared to their local culture, it tends to blossom significantly and open up a world of opportunity to engage that staff into the US staff and treat everybody as one larger group.
Yeah, you've just said it. See, and this is where the disconnect, like I've talked to a lot of agency owners, right? Well,
Hmm.
they don't talk the same. Well, I express to them, I go, this is why you need the consulting person or whoever, or you have to
Hmm.
have somebody who's going to be the boots on the ground, and you cannot set and forget. It does not work like
Hmm.
that.
Agreed.
Engagement is critical. Like
Hmm.
listen, even from an operator standpoint, as much as when I was with NCB, I was operating internally in because I wanted them to get up to 1 million a month. And how was I going to
Hmm.
do that? And because it benefited the organization if everybody's
Hmm.
doing well. And by the way, they were loving it. They were collecting a lot of money. They were, hitting it
Sure.
out of the park. So they were excited. They wanted to work for NCB. Like they wanted
Hmm.
that. And I'm super competitive. That doesn't help in the sense of, man, I'm all about like giving the best prizes out. I remember Adam going in, I was just talking about this, going into Jamaica, like they didn't have candy or things like that. I'm surprised I didn't get like stopped at the border. I used to have so much stuff in my bag, like
Hmm.
any, like gifts and stuff. But, and then I would have these, when I had motivation meetings, by the way, I had motivation meetings, and this is a lot of work. And this is where sometimes as a leader, people are like, yeah, no, collectors, they got great morale, or your team has great morale. I was having motivation meetings every other week or something like that, sometimes every week.
Hmm.
And by the way, I had people that really weren't interested in listening to any of my hoopla, and then others that were. And I already knew who wasn't and wasn't. And by the way, I would coordinate not only my stateside collectors, but my offshore in
Hmm.
one meeting, which, you have
Hmm.
several hundred people, but, it brought unity and,
Hmm.
utilizing your internal team and asking them, hey, if I, gave you an extra whatever bonus or extra money, help offshore get better. Guess what?
Hmm.
I have collectors traveling with me offshore to help train. People that are in their seats that they could sit side by side with.
But you
So
aligned incentives. You put together a structure right?
Yeah.
For success. You worked through a
Yeah.
communication model. You used the same tool sets that you're deploying now as a consultant in the
Yeah.
job that you were doing. But that's what makes those things successful, because not only do you understand conceptually what it is that you're trying to deploy, you understand the reactions that you get from various factions of your organization when you deploy these new tool sets, right? Every time
Yeah.
I deploy a new policy, you've got some people that like change and you have some people that don't like change. You have some people that want a motivational rah rah speech. You have other people that don't. I'm not a motivational rah rah kind of guy, right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't need that in my life. I don't need someone to pump me up. Like, I'm good with my self motivation. But sometimes I forget that other people do need that. And so I had to learn to calendar these things so that they don't
Yeah.
get lost, right? If it's not on the calendar, it didn't happen. And so, or it's not going to happen. So everything has to be on the calendar. And if I can keep a consistency to that communication, it really does improve that, the overall interactions between the teams. And I try to treat, the only thing that we do that's country based now is days off, because you get different religious or national holidays in different countries.
Right.
But outside of that, right, I've got a leadership team, I've got a whole team, right? I've got a graphics team, a web team. So like each grouping within our company now is done based on their skill sets, not based on where they are.
Yeah. And that's great. And then everybody collaborates together and it just is a winning combination. That's why you have a winning organization. That's it. And then you have to, and you can't go, well, you could. It's hard to consult if you're like, I don't want to say loser, but that's what comes to mind. Yeah, I'm a loser. But you have to have some sort of proven track record in some way, shape, or form,
Mm-hmm.
or, bring value, right? I want value. I want to see that I've done what I need to do. And by the way, if I haven't done what I need to do, I'll come back and fix it. Like, and
Yeah,
again, owning that. And it is a
selling
lot.
value.
Yeah, it's a lot harder being a business person, being self-employed than it was working for somebody because, I'm the one holding myself accountable. I'm the one who making sure I have the learning curve, like you said, like we talked about. So, it's a lot more work. It is a
It's the
lot more.
self motivation required to be successful in the role. But for some of us, it just kind of sticks, right? You find that
Yeah,
groove. I only do a consulting project every once in a while now when I find something that really sounds interesting to me, something that I
yeah,
can sink my teeth into and really enjoy, whether that be, I mean, I know we tend to work on different types of projects. You're a little bit more operational, I'm a little bit more technical. But I
yeah.
think we cross over quite well with all the different things that we've done together through the years. But Susan, I thank you so much for coming on and having a chat with me today. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much, Adam. It's always a pleasure talking to you. So thanks again.
You as well. It's been fun to watch you develop this consulting organization over the past year or so, and just looking at you put all of the pieces to the puzzle together has been really inspiring. Looking from the outside and knowing quite a few of your clients and the successes that you've brought to them. So this has been a lot of fun for me. For those of you that are watching, if you have additional questions you'd like to ask Susan or myself, you can leave those in the comments on LinkedIn and YouTube, and we'll be responding to those just as quickly as possible. Or if you have additional topics you'd like to see us discuss, you can leave those in the comments below as well. And hopefully I can get Susan to come back at least one more time to help me create great content for a great industry. But until next time, Susan, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you. I hope everybody learned as much from you today as I did.
Oh, thanks so much, Adam. Have a great day.
You as well. And for those of you watching, thank you so much. We'll talk to you all again soon. Bye, everybody.